I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
If you want to build a massive chest, you have to stop bench pressing right now.
Welcome to Heinz Senior's Coaching App. Get access to the P3AK High Intensity Training ebook and its exclusive video tutorials. Commit with Heinz's coaching right now and be provided with a year of meal plans, training programs, and more. www.p3akday.com. There is no room for the littles.
Hey, this is the Game Triple H from the WWE. You're watching RxMuscle.com, the truth in bodybuilding.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave. You know the deal, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo, whatever's on your mind, be it inside of bodybuilding, be it outside of bodybuilding, training, supplementation, diet, obviously the Arnold Classic now less than a month away. So a lot of excitement building up to the big show in Columbus, Ohio. Glad that it's going to be back in March and things are going to be back to normal as far as the bodybuilding calendar is concerned. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo, we tried to keep this under wraps. So, we're hoping Dave would be able to just get his rest, recuperation, but the word got out. Dave tested positive a few days ago. Yesterday I spoke to him. He sounded like absolute hell, and I'm surprised that we're even doing the show right now, but he's putting in the effort and we're going to have the show. But so we don't want to make this about, oh, boohoo, Dave, but we do want to talk about Dave. If you want to enlighten the audience as far as now, battling COVID, what specifically are you doing, what you're taking, and how are you feeling?
The show must go on, right, Sid? That's the end of the
motto.
Name of the day.
Exactly.
I canceled most of the usual programming just because I was yesterday I was really wrecked. I started taking on Monday hydrochloroquine. I had it in my house just as a backup. And when I tested positive on Monday, because I wasn't sure, I had kind of like just a low-grade fever, and I was just like, tired. And so, there's a lot of viruses going around. And so I just thought I was sick. So then I tested. I took a home test, and it came up positive like immediately. So obviously I was full into it, and that had been into a week already. I think I've had it, or maybe 4 or 5 days. So I started taking the hydroxychloroquine and at 500 milligrams twice a day. So this is my third day on it, and I think it definitely helped. I feel better. I'm not as tired as I was, but I have this like non-productive like cough. Like if I speak too fast or too much, or if I exert myself too much. Other than that, I'm breathing well. It's a really like dry, hacky cough, and I just feel like out of it. The past 2 days, I kind of had like achiness, but the achiness kind of went away. But I have absolutely no appetite. I'm eating like stuff that I would never eat, like spaghetti and meatballs, like in a frozen meal, like that. That's delicious to me. The idea of eating like salmon with like vegetables and rice, like I normally eat, I just want to puke. I would never be able to get it. I couldn't even finish a bagel the other day. It's not, I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell. I just have like no desire to eat. It's like a weird thing. And I had a little diarrhea. And so how I got it, I have no idea. Because I'm under strict quarantine. I'm convinced it was from Mr. G when I let him into my studio a week ago. But the truth is that he doesn't have it as far as I know. He has no symptoms of it. So I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you.
But nonetheless, you sound a lot better. You look a lot better. I mean, I can only imagine yesterday, obviously, for those of you that were looking forward to after hours, we did not do that this week. So, when I spoke to Dave yesterday, like I said, he sounded like absolute hell. So I'm surprised we're even doing the show right now. But yeah, good to hear that you're doing better, and good to see that obviously you have a plan, and hopefully those who may be affected by it could take, bits and pieces from that as well in their own.
Yeah, I mean, hydroxychloroquine definitely has some science behind it. I'm doing 5 days of it. I feel a lot better just from after 2 days of it. So I have a feeling it's doing something. I'm taking it with zinc too, chelated zinc. So I take it twice a day, and once in the morning, once at night, with my chelated zinc. And of course, I'm still taking my whole variety of the vitamins I take, V-mineralize and omega-lize. Obviously, the omega-lize being important so that you don't throw clots and stuff like that. Who knows what's going on deep inside my body? I'm just trying to give it all the nutrition it needs and all the sleep and rest to heal up. But yeah, it's not fun. I don't really get sick very often. So this has been like the worst I've gotten, in recent memory.
So hopefully it passes by in short order. Getting to business, Dave, I know you have it on your desk right now. Stimulize. We're doing a 25% off deal only till tonight. So it's going to expire tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll leave the link and the promo code below in the article description. It's STIM25 at Species.Nutrition.com. 25% off Stimuli. So if you haven't yet tried Stimulize, obviously, Dave has explained the science behind Stimulize, what makes it different than the other 8,000 pre-workouts on the market right now. We actually just uploaded a video yesterday where Dave did sort of a deep dive into the science behind Stimuli. So if you haven't already tried it, 25% off Stim25, good only till tonight at midnight at SpeciesNutrition.com. Let's get to the questions. Of course, the first two questions on the show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question, Dave, I heard from you and Chris said that if you take carbs for dinner, there are the carbs you use the day after. So if that is correct, the carbs, good carbs, at night don't accumulate like fat. If you could explain the science behind that.
I'm not really sure exactly what he's asking, but what I think what he's referring to is the fact that we were saying that, so many guys are so worried about the morning of, before they go to the gym, that they got to carb up and they got to take insulin and they got to load their muscles up with glycogen. What Chris and I were talking about was that really the glycogen that's stored in the muscles and the liver, which is going to be what's available to give you a great workout and a good pump, are what you ate the day before. So how you recover and the foods that you're eating the day before a workout is really what's the most important, especially if you work out in the morning. So I know a lot of guys like to have their cheat meal on Saturday night, and then if they have a weak body part, they like to train it on Sunday because they feel so pumped up and they feel like they have more energy. And that's that's something smart. I know a lot of guys that they want to bring their legs up. Sunday is squat day, and they do it the day after that cheat meal and they feel like $1 million. Other guys have weak arms, so they do arm day after, a cheat meal. But the bottom line is that especially if you're off season, how you eat the day before or the latter part of the day before is always going to affect your workout the next day. Unless you work out at night, the morning and what you're eating prior to the workout really doesn't make that much of a difference. But if you train early in the day, the previous day's nutrition is what's important.
Second question, again, these are from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. A lot of what is the science behind questions. Good to know. We like those kind of questions on this show. What is the science behind losing size as we age, even with HRT?
I think that what happens, it's a twofold thing. Number one, first of all, I don't think that people can train as intensely as they get older. I think they have injuries, they have joint problems. The body's not as flexible. It's not as resilient. And whether you're on drugs or not, okay? And that comes into play. I also think that, there's an innervation aspect of it. So don't forget, the muscles can only respond to what the nerves are telling them. So if the nerves are not necessarily transmitting impulses properly, and I don't know if that has to do with age or if it has to do with your back, where those spinal nerves come out of your spinal cord, if they're getting restricted a little bit, there's a lot of, speculation as to maybe that's why guys' legs, are not as good as and when they get older, because the innervation to the muscles down there are just not as good. That's that's something that we're still learning about. But I believe it's a combination of, like I said, the body's just a little beat up, it's not as resilient, it's not as flexible, and the innervation coming from the nerves is not quite as good.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. And again, if you're not already following us on Instagram, is official_RX Muscle. If you're watching us for the first time here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our show segments or updates. Again, we have an all-new episode of the Heavy Muscle Radio Show, which we do now live, pretty much exclusively live, Sunday nights. Again, it's that interactive forum that we provide to all the fans. So, generally around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's always a great time. This past weekend, it was Dave, it was Chris. Chris Cormier. I was getting to him, the big name. But again, great stories. It's great bodybuilding conversation. And the best part is the fact that we get to have you along for the ride. So all your interactions, live interactions. So it's always a good time. So again, if you hit the notification bell, you're going to know every time we go live, anytime we have a new segment, any new uploads. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. And as always, we appreciate all of your support. Let's go to Tony Wynn. Dave loved the show. Waiting for you to grab Charles Clairmonte on for an interview in the future. Hope this can happen. My question is, I've been training many years on and off, non-competitive, approaching 50, working manually. Would you recommend some HIT training in the workouts, lower volume and more recovery? Or at this age, is HIT not really the best and to opt for more sets, more reps instead? And I'm not sure if this is a question for you. Did you follow the Yates way a few years back? And I'm sorry, this is for him. So he was trying to follow the Yates way years back. It was working, but even though I'm sure he's asking basically at the age of 50, is the Yates method still, okay, I guess, applicable? Yeah.
Look, I like the high intensity training. That seemed to work well for me because I'm an overtrainer. Now that I'm in the gym, I'm still using less sets. I'm just not using as heavy weights. I don't push myself to failure where I'm going to tear my bicep muscle or something like that. But I still don't feel that my body needs as many sets. So if I go into the gym for a chest workout and I go, now with good shoulders, I can do it. And I go on the incline bench for 3 or 4 sets, because you got to warm up a couple sets, right? And then I go to some flat dumbbells and do 2 sets. And then I finish off with, 2 sets of flies. I'm done. That's it. I'm going heavy enough in my mind that I'm stimulating the muscle and that I feel challenged. And I don't need to do 24 sets, because if I do 24 sets for chest, I'm going to be crippled. I'm not going to even respond well, because I'm not going to recover from it properly. And I don't think I'm going to get any benefit from that. Now, some people like high volume and their bodies respond well to it. You can do that all you want. But, if you've been bodybuilding, you always want to try to challenge yourself to weights that are respectable. But if at 50, there's no reason to be trying to set new records, or try to, squat, 600 pounds like you might have done when you were in your 20s and 30s. But you find a weight that's challenging to you now, and you use that weight. And that's what I tell people all the time. As you age, you might have to modify the weights and remember, your body doesn't know how much weight. It doesn't know, oh, he's not doing 600 pounds anymore. No, it only knows what it feels. So if it feels heavy to you and you're using good form, then you're going to get benefits out of it. If it doesn't feel heavy, because you're just doing high reps, then you're probably not going to get much, in terms of, improvement out of it, But at some point, if you're just looking to do, maintenance, it probably doesn't matter what you do. I just feel that if I just lift light weights and do lots of reps, I'll probably lose muscle. That's just the way my body is, because I have a very fast metabolism.
Let's go to Excellent 187. I get why they ban certain substances in semi and professional sport, but why would they ban them from the general public, considering that so many prescribed medicines contain the same substances that's banned? Clen is banned, yet it's used in asthma medication. TRT is a must in some cases, yet I could be arrested for buying test. Can you make sense of this?
I really wish I could make sense of it. It's the great look. They were sending people to jail for 30 years for selling marijuana, right? 20 years ago. Now these guys are the same guys that are legally providing it to pharmaceutical companies, here, so that it can be sold legally in Colorado and Oregon and wherever else, Florida, wherever else they're selling legal marijuana. Laws are so arbitrary in this country. It's stupid to try to figure out the logic behind them. Luckily, I didn't even know if the day would come where testosterone would be legally acceptable. But there is. You can go to hormone replacement clinics like TitanMedicalCenter.com, and you can get a legal prescription and you can have it mailed to your house. A bottle of testosterone. Imagine that. 15 years ago, you could never have done that, and so people start to realize that there's science behind some of these, these supposedly illegal drugs. I mean, I just saw something on Facebook, an ad where they actually, you can join this study to help people who have who've been exposed to post-traumatic stress, where they actually send you ketamine, which is it's a cat tranquilizer, but it's also a drug that people use in clubs like Special K. They're going to give you ketamine to help you with post-traumatic stress. That was like a controlled one substance. So, I mean, you don't know. Things change. People start to understand that there is a pharmaceutical benefit to certain drugs, and they're not just these villainous, quote, steroids. I hope in my lifetime I see all this stuff get legalized, because it's pretty ridiculous that hormones are illegal. I mean, it's like they're the most innocuous drugs around, and with a doctor's prescription, they should all be legally available. And maybe one day we'll see it. You never know. Stranger things have happened, right? We have legal marijuana now.
It's not just legal. I mean, it's going to be to the point now in a few, and I know this is probably better topic for after hours, but I mean, you're probably looking at a few more years where all 50 states probably going to be legal and very, very, very normal. Let's go to aesthetics, nutrition. What to do if creatinine, BUN, GFR levels are not going down on a low protein diet and off gear. In this scenario, how would you go about fixing kidney issues?
It's a real problem for sure. Excuse me. High creatinine, obviously, which indicates that there is some kidney damage. And I do recommend that you get something called cystatin C. That's another blood test they can check. If cystatin C is high, it probably means you do have kidney damage. That's more definitive than creatinine. Sometimes creatinine can be high just from weight training and stuff like that. A low protein diet usually helps correct the problem. He didn't really indicate how high his creatinine was, so it's hard for me to make a definitive, recommendation. But I will say this: the kidney stuff product that I sell at DavePalumbo.com, I don't make it, but it's another company that makes it. I really like it. I've given it to a lot of guys who've had high creatinine, and it's brought it down. But it does take a couple of months. Remember, the kidneys will regenerate, but they're much slower to regenerate than the liver. The liver is a much better regenerative organ. And that's probably because it's put under a lot more stress in terms of detoxifying the body. But the kidneys you're going to have to keep on a lower protein diet for an extended period of time. It might take you a year, if your creatinine is that high, and if it's beyond a certain point, it may never come down. But he didn't really indicate the numbers. Do the kidney stuff. I have a 3-week detox. I'm more than happy to give it out for free. I would recommend doing that for 3 weeks. That's going to help your creatinine as well. But once again, creatinine and kidney function take a little longer to correct. So don't give up. Okay, don't say, screw it, I'm just going to go back to eating high protein again. You got to give your body a chance to regenerate itself. And it will. It will, like I said, as long as your creatinine is not, crazy. If you've already done, irreparable damage to your kidney tubules, there's probably not a lot you can do about it. If you have a creatinine of 3 point something, you're probably in bad shape. But if you're at the high 1.9, 2, low 2s, that's not good. That number, but that could be corrected for sure.
Take 2-3 more questions. Let's go to bodybuilding and wrestling. Is it true that for some body parts you need to adjust the weight and do add contraction? Well, I guess to add contraction, more squeezing of the muscle. I feel like for some exercise, if I lower the weight and do more time under tension, I feel the muscle being worked harder. So I'm trying to get at the gist of the question. I mean, just in terms of for some body parts as compared to others, time under tension. Yeah.
I think that you the person asking the question kind of answered his own question. For certain exercises, okay, just speeding through the reps on the movement, okay, or just hurling the weight around is not ever going to work the muscle that you're trying to work. I think a lot of people get caught up with having to lift heavy weights to build big muscle, and they're really not feeling it. I can see a lot of people doing bent over rows, and they're using their traps, they're jerking the weight, and they're not getting a good feel in their back. And those people, and I have a lot of guys who I work with now send me videos so I can, critique their form. And I have to say, look, you're going to have to lighten the weight and start over and really squeeze and really get the form down properly. Once you have the form down properly, the weight will increase on its own. Same thing with arms. I used to do the straight bar curls. I never felt them. I could put a lot of weight on there and then hurl that weight up, and my biceps didn't respond. They didn't get bigger. All I got was shoulder pain from it. So when I started doing dumbbells or cable curls, I started feeling the concentrated movement on my bicep, and my biceps responded. So you have to find what works for you. If you don't feel the muscle you're working on a specific movement and your form is good, then that's not a movement for you. But more than likely, your form is not good. And that's probably why you're not feeling it. And if you need to go slower and squeeze more because you're getting a better contraction, then that's the answer to your question.
Let's go to Leon James Fit. I know you talk about statins, loosely here and there, be it on Heavy Muscle Radio, in the scope of conversations about Bodybuilder A versus Bodybuilding B. But as far as long-term effects, so, I mean, if you want to give an overall walkthrough of your thoughts on statins and then their effects long-terms for a bodybuilder.
I hate to I don't really know what the long-term effects of statins are. I don't know if anyone does. I think that's a last resort to use. So if you have crazy high cholesterol level, like if your LDLs are like 300 and you already take, omega lyes, or fish oil supplements, and you eat well and you don't eat sugar in your diet and you take a good fiber supplement like fiber lyes, and you still can't get those numbers down, because genetically everyone in your family has high LDLs and everyone dies of, cardiovascular disease because they get blockages in the coronary arteries, you're probably a person that should take a statin, okay? But for the rest of the people, if your LDL is 120 and 100 is normal, and the doctor wants to put you on a statin, I would run for the hills. There's no reason. There's a lot of side effects to statins. They do incite inflammation in the body, and I don't even need to list them off. You can go read the side effects of these things. For bodybuilders, not a good drug. So once again, if you come back with high cholesterol, try to fix the problem naturally. Once again, reduce the sugars in your diet. Take a good fiber supplement, because fiber binds up LDL cholesterol in the gut and pulls it out. Fiberlyze works great. I always put people on Fiberlyze, Omega Lyze as soon as I see high cholesterol levels, and a lot of times that completely fixes the problem. Also reducing sugar intake, cutting out saturated fats or cholesterol fats, believe it or not, can make the problem worse, because then your body wants to produce more of that stuff, because your body can create its own cholesterol. It doesn't have to get it through the diet. Eating cholesterol doesn't raise LDL cholesterol, and that's a big mistake that people make. So don't cut back your fat intake, okay? You might want to cut back some of your saturated fat intake if you're eating excessive amounts of red meat, but assuming you're not and you're having it once a day or whatever, do not cut back your fat intake. Reduce the sugar intake that you're ingesting, and also ask your family: do mom, dad, does grandpa and grandma have high cholesterol? Did they have coronary artery disease? And if you're a little paranoid about it, go and get a cardiac CT scan. If your coronary arteries are clear, then you really don't have anything to worry about if your LDL is a little high, okay? If you have a 50% blockage, different story. You're going to probably need a stent, and you probably want to go on a statin. So there's only a very small population of people that probably need to really take statins, and those are people that are just kind of genetically screwed, in the sense that they've inherited, this propensity to accumulate cholesterol in their coronary arteries. And once again, you got to identify which person you are.
Take one more question from Super Greg Sanchez. We were going to address on this week's episode of After Hours, cancel culture, right? I mean, I know we talked about it in so many different iterations, but obviously everything that Joe Rogan is going through right now, and that debate as far as, again, is cancel culture too far overreaching? Well, this question is kind of relevant, kind of a tie-in to a topic that we talked about a couple of weeks ago about Big Ramy, and Big Ramy taking a lot of criticism for being a, quote, bad Mr. Olympia, right? There are those that are not happy with, I guess, his lack of a YouTube channel or more of social media interactions. And, so again, so his question is, do people crap on Dorian, or did they crap on Dorian Yates when he brought in the era of mass monsters like they are for Ramy? And I guess he's saying the new normal, but sort of the look that he brings. Or is his level of complaining part of this generation's cancel culture?
I think being Mr. Olympia in the modern age, in the 2020s, has a certain level of responsibility in the sense that to social media. And I hate to say that because I hate to make social media too important. But let's face it, we live in a social media age. There's no magazines that are shooting that after the Olympia shot Ramy, 4 million pictures of him, and are going to run these pictures all year long in Flex Magazine, Muscular Development, Iron Man, Muscle Mag International. Because back in Dorian's day, that's what they did. Dorian did the Olympia. He flew to California with the Weider guys, and they shot him 1 million pictures. And they had 12 months of pictures, and they had articles about him and interviews with him and his training secrets. And so every month we got to see what's going on with Dorian. There's no magazines anymore. The only way we get to see Mr. Olympia now is social media. Whether he goes on other shows and does interviews, which Ramy doesn't do, whether he goes on his own Instagram and does, talks to the, to the public, or shows off some of how he trains or his eating, which he doesn't. So I think people feel cheated. They feel like, all right, we got a Mr. Olympia for 2 years now, and this guy is not giving us anything. And we want to see something. We don't want to just see pictures of him on stage once a year. And so I think that there is an onus of responsibility that Ramy puts content out there, especially if he wants to be a popular Mr. Olympia. I mean, by all rights, he doesn't have to, but why not? I mean, what's going to happen when he stops competing? Doesn't he want to be a popular bodybuilder? Doesn't he want to be one of these guys that people want to hear about? Like, Ronnie Coleman, any little snippet of wisdom that he puts out on his social media, people are all over it because they love the guy, because he's an open book. And I don't know why Ramy, I don't know if Ramy's just lazy and doesn't want to do this or what, or if he's insecure, but he's the best bodybuilder in the world. He should be out there, front and center. I'm sure he's got a videographer out there who can shoot him and show some of the stuff he does during the day just to keep people interested. So I think as Mr. Olympia, you do have an onus of responsibility to put that out there. So I don't think the criticism lodged against Ramy is necessarily wrong. I just think that Ramy has to try to reconsider about, how he wants to project his Mr. Olympia title and what he wants his legacy to be remembered as moving forward.
Dave, I know the fans are very appreciative of you making the effort right now. Go get some rest, feel better, and we'll do this again next week. Again, we thank you all for watching right now. If you look at the link in the article description below, SpeedsNutrition.com Stimulize 25% off only through tonight at midnight using the promo code STIM25 at checkout. Again, only good till 11:59 p.m. tonight. We'll see you again next week. Keep it locked to RxMuscle.com.